MSP here for Bapton Books, using my best radio voice from the old days at WLUR FM. Indeed, from days long gone, my courtroom jury argument voice. Voices are curious things. Most Southern writers, academics, and lecturers know, rightly, that their accents thicken geometrically with each mile north of the Rappahannock, such that, by the latitude of Darien, Connecticut, say, they sound like Colonel Tolliver Fitchie Randolph Bolin the Fifth wandering about the Fan District, complaining that everything since the war seems to have been built of corrugated cardboard. Voices are curious things, and not only in and for the spoken word. Writers have voices, curious voices, unique, highly personal voices. Well, you likely expect that of novelists. But history is a literary art, and historians, as much as novelists, bring their voices, their unique perspectives, to their task. In the coming weeks and months at Bapton Books, we'll be letting those voices sound in fiction and nonfiction alike. An annal tells you the king died, and then the queen died. History is story. History tells you the king died, and the queen within 2 months died of grief. Sometimes history tells you of the king's death and the queen's grief, and then an historian discovers that the king died and his grieving queen was poisoned. And by whom? We at Bapton Books, in the nonfiction catalog, use our voices and our viewpoints to tell these stories and the untold stories. GMW Weems and I are working anew on the diplomatic crisis, the July crisis of 1914. We intended to publish in 2014. But then I had a heart attack, not the first one it transpires, and a triple bypass. More ink has been spilled over how Europe, its diplomats and governments, bumbled into a world war than the amount of blood spilled in that insanely bloody conflict. But there is always something more to say. In this case, that it happened when and how it happened because Russia and its Serbian protege thought they were playing with a marked deck. Why? Because in May of 1913, Colonel Alfred Raeder, the recent head of Austria-Hungary's military counterintelligence, was exposed as a long-time Russian agent, and Vienna let him commit suicide without interrogating him, and never changed their war plans or order of battle, even though they must have known the Russians and all Russia's Balkan puppets must have had these on their desks. Wars begin for different people at different times in different places. That's why 1937 was the year of portent. The world crossed a threshold unawares at the Marco Polo Bridge, and the road to the Second World War was opened wide. Everyone knows the story of RMS Titanic, often knowing what just ain't so. But why? Both Britain and the U.S. investigated the disaster. Those investigations shape what we know or think we know, of Titanic's sinking. But the British investigation was constrained by the political imperatives of the Irish Home Rule Bill and the need to bury a scandal of corruption and inside trading in the Liberal government. And the U.S. Senate inquiry was a political exercise in a presidential election year. Everyone remembers Pearl Harbor. But 4 months before, the U.S. Congress kept the draft and kept the U.S. military in being by one log-rolled vote in the House. These are the stories we tell. So stay tuned for excerpts and insights. And, who knows, if he takes a break from the next novel as well as the 1914 book, we may even hear a few words from Gervais Weems. We'll talk again soon. Be well, stand firm, and never stop being curious.